Colleagues, I am ready to start, and first of all let me introduce myself. My name is Tatiana Rumintseva, and today I would like to share some tips with you to make your TKT prep not so daunting and just to show what you have already known, probably even to spot some gaps in your knowledge, and of course I'm trying to include a lot of information and to be efficient. As you know, there are 3 modules in TKT. So the first module is some kind of model of general knowledge. It deals with terminology, different types of skills and systems. And if we're talking about module 2, we're talking about lesson planning and assessments, all this cycle which helps us to be effective. And finally, we are talking about Module 3, we are talking about classroom management, and I'm pretty sure that after taking these 3 modules, some teachers and even professionals start thinking differently about their teaching. So let's get it started. TKT Module 1, which is some basic terminology plus deep insight into your teaching practice. Let's see what we can do as teachers to prepare our trainees, our students, and ourselves. As you remember, language is skills and systems. Basically, when we are talking about systems, we are talking about Lexis or vocabulary, grammar, functions, and phonology. When we are talking about skills, we refer to receptive skills, which are listening and reading, and productive skills, which are writing and speaking, aimed at producing the language. So all of these things should be considered. First of all, we will discuss systems and then go to skills lessons. So when we're talking about the word, what do we need to know about it? We need to know what it means to be aware of the word. Basically, we talk about meaning, form, and pronunciation. When we are teaching a word, meaning always comes first, and we need to be aware of that as teachers. After that, we need to present the pronunciation of the form. It could be written or oral one, it depends on the situation. So meaning of the word, the basic vocabulary meaning of the word is called denotation. It is what you usually see in every dictionary when you are looking for definition. So definition, denotation. When we are talking about emotional coloring of a word, we refer to connotation. We also need to know the part of speech, what family relations. For example, when we teach classroom objects, that is definitely what family for pen, pencils, ruler, and so on and so forth. Synonyms and antonyms of this word, and formality or register, the context of usage. I could also add collocation because it's also very important. It shows if 2 words go together or not go together. For instance, do a mistake or make a mistake, that's a problem. After that, we go to form, and we could look at oral pronunciation and written pronunciation. That is not a typical CELTA approach, because in CELTA approach we usually speak of a form as a written form, and then pronunciation goes there. Please remember that form goes second. After that, we also need to know the context of use, where to use the word, and more important, where not to use it. So, common terms about Lexis, they could be as follows: affixes, prefixes, suffixes, synonyms, antonyms, idioms, lexical sets, parts of speech, phrasal verbs, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to explain that to you, you can easily do it yourself. There are so many online tools which can help you, and one of them is Quizlet. You can actually Google for that if you are not using it yet. You could write Quizlet TKT and you'll find a lot of different terms which you need for this exam. TKT is also based on the knowledge of terminology. Here is the list of basic terminology in my presentation which you will need, and I'm just skipping that. Coming back to grammar, we're looking at the ways we present grammar, and we look at the meaning, form and context of use, which is also very important. Again, coming back to terms, you always need to learn grammar terms, especially parts of speech which you need to be aware of. You need to know the difference between, for example, personal pronouns and personal adjectives, transitive and intransitive verbs, all of the things which are reflected in the exam. How to teach grammar Lexis? The basic way of that is PPP, which is presentation, practice, production, and also there are some other ways. They are TTT, which is test, teach, test, and guided discovery. There will be some other approaches which you look at later. These are the basic things you need to know about. I'm not going to stop here for a long time. I would like you to be aware that these concepts are also tested. Speaking about grammar presentation, you also need to remember we can present grammar deductively, starting from the rule, examples, and then go into practice. That was a common practice about 20 years ago, and we can present grammar inductively. When we first study the example, we try to work out the rule together with our students, and then we practice all these things. Which one is better? Actually, both approaches could be used depending on your students. The basic thing about functions is that we mostly speak about spoken functions. Functions are the reasons or situations in which we communicate and why we communicate. Some of the functions may be suggestions. For instance, you want to go to the cinema with your friends, you can use it in different ways. You can say, how about, or why don't we, why not? If I were you, I would, blah, blah, blah. Let's. All of these are functional exponents, figures of language, which are used for a function. Why do we need functions? Functions are the basic tool of spoken and written language, because when we are teaching our students at, for example, general course, they have the aim. And these aims can be different. For example, some of them would like to go abroad, and we need to understand in which situation they are going to communicate and teach functional exponents as one big chunk, not as a combination of different words. We also have introduction, hi, hello, how are you, clarification, oh sorry, I did not get it, explanation, what I mean by this is requests, could you please, would you, don't you mind? So all of these things are related to functions. When we're talking about phonology, we're talking not only about phonemes or sounds. Basically, what you need to know is also connected speech. Sometimes our students, our learners, they do not understand English, not because they don't know vocabulary, the words, but because they don't know where the words start and finish. They don't know what boundaries. By the way, sometimes there is no what boundary at all. What you're gonna do? What are you going to do? So it depends on the dialect, and your students need to be aware of it. Knowledge about connected speech helps our students. In Russian, we do not intonate at all. We do believe we intonate, but compared to native speakers, English native speakers, we do not. What we need to teach our students that the word shapes sound natural as well as stress. Which words are more stressed, which words are less stressed, which words are stronger, which words are weaker, depending on whether it is a concept word or, for example, an auxiliary word. Schwa sound, minimal pairs when words are different only in one phoneme. All of these things you need to know, you need to be aware of. TKT, by the way, has issued a glossary. There are so many items that you can learn, and you can learn them gradually, step by step, and then you will deal with terminology.